everybody, welcome back to another video, and today is going to be a good one. This weekend feels like a wonderful pulled pork or pork butt weekend. We are doing a little over a 6-pound Boston butt or pork roast. These things are really, really good. I love cooking these up. They get so tender they can just pull apart. Makes great sandwiches and nachos and you name it. You can use this for a ton of different stuff. So, got the smoker all fired up. Smoke just dissipated, man. It was just getting up to temperature and just smoke everywhere. Let me show you how we prep this, and then we'll get it on the smoker. You got me drinking a little bit of coffee today. It's still early in the morning. It's a little after 7. We're going to go ahead and get this thing started because this will probably smoke from anywhere from, I don't know, let's call it 4 to 7 hours. That's a pretty good, I don't know, assessment of what it will likely take. Now, this is a bone-in pork butt. I actually like the bone-in style for a couple of reasons. One, I think it has a slightly better flavor, and I'm not looking to slice this, so I don't care that it's in the way. The other reason is, I don't know, there's something really satisfying when it's very tender and you can just grab the blade of that bone and just pull it right on out of the pork. That's a I don't know, a good feeling to me. It validates what I've done to cook it was very well, done very well. All right, so let's talk seasoning. In this particular one, I'm going to use up a couple of half-empty bottles I have. I have the Laudable Barbecue. This is a rib seasoning, and this here is a called Spellbound. It's also a good pork seasoning. So not a whole lot of magic here. I'm just going to open these guys up and sprinkle them on out of here. I want a good bark all over this, so I'm going to sprinkle it a little bit liberally. Now we're just going to flip it over and we're going to do the same thing on the sides. It's okay if you put it on a little bit thick. I'm not selling seasoning, so I'm not trying to get you to use it all up real quick, but you want a good seasoning. It's a thick piece of meat, so it's okay to add a little extra on here so that stuff really settles its way all the way through there. All right, got that side good. Now, I'm a fan of dipping it on my cutting board. Use up all that seasoning. And we'll go one more along the top here. You notice I'm putting it on a little bit thick, and what we're going to wait for here is within a few minutes this will moisten from the moisture out of the meat. It will extract out some of the meat from the salt and what's in this, and you'll notice that this will sort of become almost the consistency or the color of mud. That's how you know that it's ready to go ahead and put it in. If you were to put it in dry like this, it wouldn't stick quite as well. I like this to kind of form that bark. All right, we've got our smoker set at 275 degrees. It's not quite there. It's at about 230. So I'm going to go ahead and prep this. And I like to go ahead and put a few probes in here. What we want to do is we want to cook this to about 165 of an internal temperature. And at that point, you can do a couple of things. You can wrap this and finish cooking it. Or I like to put it in a little bit of an aluminum tray with a little bit of apple juice or some kind of fluid in it and cover it up. I think when you're making pulled pork, it just makes it that much more tender. That's my preferred method. A lot of people have their own for doing it. If you haven't seen one of these, I'll put a link to this down below. It's called Meter. It's really kind of cool. This one has 4 thermometer probes in it. You can get ones with just 1 or 2 as well. But you put these probes in there. They're wireless. They reach out to this thing. They communicate with it. You can set an app on your phone. You say, hey, when it gets to 140, 150, 170, 210, whatever temperature you set, it will tell you not only the internal temperature of the meat, but as well as the external temperature on the outside of the probe. It's amazing for monitoring what you have in here, especially like today. I'm going to put this in and I'm going to do some work around the front side of the house in the garden. So this way I can just kind of have my phone in my pocket. It will beep, notify me, let me know when it's time, and I come right out here and do the work. Absolutely love these things. They're awesome. So let's go ahead and start. We want to go into a thick part of the meat. I think I'm going to go with one just under the bone here. I said that and I ended up going right into the bone. Let's go ahead and push that all the way in. And you want these to go in. There's a small line, I don't know, 2/3 of the way down, right at my fingertip here. You need for that line to be in the meat past it. That's where the thermometer probe is all the way on that part of it. And then there's another thermometer on the outside for that external temperature. So we have one right there. I'm going to go ahead and put the other one right up here into the top of the meat, right down into it. So we have 2 temperature probes on both sides of this meat. That'll be perfect. So it's really nice. You can see on the app, I can see I have probes 2, 3, and 4, and I know I have 3 and 4 in here. They have these little tags that show me. So I'm just going to go to probe 3. I'm going to go ahead and set this up. I'm going to tell it it's pork. I'm going to click on roast, and it's a pork butt. I'm not going to put this at 205 right now. I want to actually wrap it when it's about 165. So I will come over here and set this to 165 and start my cook. I'm going to do the same thing to probe 4. So we'll set this to pork, roast, butt. Let's go 165. And we'll start our cook here. Now, you notice it even gives me a warning that I have my volume turned all the way down. So I'll just flip my sound on here. Good move there. And I have my 2 sort of alarms set, and we can see there's no cook set up for probe number 2, which is still in its container. And 3 and 4, I have my my actual probes in the meat, and we can see that the internal temperature is 36 degrees. I just took it out of the fridge and we just seasoned it. My target is 165, and the ambient temperature outside right now is 77 degrees. That's on the outside of these. Once I put this in, this will be the ambient temperature of the inside of the grill versus this this internal temperature, which is the internal of the meat. And with that, we'll put the foam back in my pocket, and let's go ahead and get this pork butt put on into the grill. The other cool thing is once you have 2 of the probes programmed, you'll actually see a small little icon next to it that looks like it's sitting in a piece of meat. It's a great reminder for me to check my pellet level, because out of habit, I always put my little device right here. I will say, because this communicates Bluetooth to these probes and then this Wi-Fi to the house, I found this works better when it's fairly close by the grill. So I keep it right on this side since it's all enclosed in metal. All right, let's go ahead and get this guy put on here. Now I'm just going to put this on the bottom shelf. All right, let's get this guy closed down. We'll come check on this in an hour or so. Now I do like to move mine around because my grill is a little bit small. The fire pot's right under the center of that. I definitely want to rotate this around a little bit. I always do it fat side down because it can absorb some of that additional heat right from the fire pot. So the thermometer right here on the front of the PitBoss says it's 235 degrees on the ambient side of the firebox. And what's kind of cool is if we look right at our device here, we can see that the ambient temperature is 157 and climbing. That's just because I just put it in, so it takes a few moments to come up. You can see our target temperature for the meat. We set it at 165, and internal still only 36 degrees. Obviously it has to cook. But what's kind of cool is you can see this green arrow working its way up. That should go all the way up to about 210 degrees. That's telling us where we're actually cooking the meat at, what the temperature is inside the firebox, our target, and internally in the meat. I think this is an amazing little device here, and the fact is I can see right on the bottom of the screen below where it says pork butt, I can see that I have 2 notifications. So I will get notified on my phone when that temperature reaches 165 internal from either probe 3 or probe 4. I should say from both, frankly. So yeah, cool stuff. All right, it's been about 3 hours later. Just got a notification that on at least probe 3, we've reached 164 degrees internal temperature. I'm still at 155 degrees internal temperature for the probe number 4. So I'm gonna go ahead and check it real quick. We're gonna turn it around. I'm gonna see just how it looks. Now, what we wanna do is get us some good heat-proof gloves. I like picking things up with that. And I'm gonna be using one of these little aluminum pan trays. Put it right in here before we seal it up. We'll show you what that looks like here in just a minute. Hey, little one, you ready for some pork butt?
Yeah.
Well, not quite yet. It's just about halfway done, okay?
All right.
Let's go ahead and check this thing out. We'll go ahead and just put this over here on that side. And let's see how she's looking. Oh, yeah. Looking good. Go ahead and turn this around probably for another 15 minutes before we put it in the pan and add some liquid to it.
Over here. Yeah, right here. Hey, do me a favor. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more like it, subscribe to the channel and click on that little bell notification so you get notified of new videos. Thanks.
All right, so you saw us just take this out. I went ahead and heated up a little bit of water. I like to do this because I don't want to have a big temperature change when I mix up my marinade for this. So what I'm going to do is I actually really do like 2 ways you can do pork butt. You can wrap this and really build a bark around it. That is a great sort of classic way to do it. What we like to do is pull this apart and just make it unbelievably tender, shredded pork tacos, sandwiches, you name it, we can make it this way. So I like to actually cover this up with foil and add liquid to it. Apple juice is a great thing to add to it, but I really want some interesting flavor. So I'm gonna be using a little Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce and a little bit of jerk seasoning. I think jerk pork is really, really good. And I'll be using some of that water when we add it in here to sort of mix that up and let that just continue to steam and finish cooking this, this actual pork butt. So, with that, let's go ahead and get some of this jerk seasoning in here to start. Put a little bit right here on top. And I'm just going to put, I don't know, let's say 2 or 3 heaping teaspoons of this all around in here. There's a lot of pork, so it looks like it's a lot. It's not bad. We'll do the same thing now with our Sweet Baby Ray's. If you've never had this, it's just a really good sweet barbecue sauce. It's delicious. Now I'm putting it on the sides. I don't want to go too much on the top. I'll add maybe just a little bit, because frankly, I'm looking for this to flavor the water that we're going to put in here. Now, we're going to go ahead and add our water in this. I'm going to put most of it on the next to it, not all on the top. Let me show you what this looks like. You can see we're just adding our water right in here. Add some along the back too, mainly just to allow it easier to mix up some of that barbecue sauce in here. Now we're just going to go ahead and stir this around with the barbecue sauce and the jerk seasoning. I like that heat and sweet mixture. I think that's really good that way. Add a little bit of this barbecue and jerk up here. We're just going to spread that about a little bit. You see our bones there. It's not pulling away yet too far. And got our probes, our 3 and our 4 right here. Now we're just going to come in with a nice aluminum foil wrap. We're going to tent this a little bit. We don't want it to sit right on top of the meat. With this ready to go, let's put it back in the smoke. Put this right back in there. With that, we'll go ahead and close this guy down. With that, we'll see you back here in about 2 hours or so. We're going to keep an eye on it. We want to take this out when it's between 203 and 208. That's typically enough time for the meat to have pulled back from the bone and for that to just be pull apart fork tender. That's what we're looking for, a tremendous pulled pork. We want the sweetness of that Sweet Baby Ray's with the kick of that jerk seasoning. It's going to be a really good hot and sweet all at the same time. We'll see you back in a few hours. All right, so it's been a full 7 hours later. My alarms just went off and told me it was up at 206 degrees. I was in the pool, so I probably got up to about 208. I'm gonna go ahead and take it out. We're gonna put it right over here on the cutting board, let it start to cool down before we open it up and show you. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and take this out. Put it right over here where Swabby is. Be very careful, this is hot.
Yummy!
All right, let's take a look at this. You know what? I'll open it on camera for you. There, we have it. That looks amazing, and that jerk smell on it smells phenomenal. All right, the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna remove our probes. Look at that meat just coming right on those things. Whew, that looks good. Ready for a little chunk of that meat? No, it's not raw, it's cooked all the way through.
That's good.
So there's one classic way to see just how tender this is. So let me zoom in. I'm going to show you this clear-cut test with the bone just to show you how tender it is. We'll do it on camera and then we'll start shredding this and Swabby will help with that. All right, so here's our surefire method for seeing just how tender it is. You grab this bone and you see if you can pull this out clean. And I'm just going to push that. I mean, look at how that comes out of there. That is an indication that this is unbelievably tender.
I'm Wolverine. Literally, these are Wolverine claws.
Well, they look like it, don't they? All right, we're gonna give this a shot before we start shredding this up. Oh. Tender and juicy. It's kind of interesting. You get the sweet of the Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce, and then you get that little hint of the jerk afterwards. That is good. I like actually pulling the pork with the liquid in here. The reason I do is when you store it, as you heat it up, it has all that liquid. It stays nice and moist. If you tear all this up and you put it in like a Ziploc bag and you don't have the liquid in it, it's still good, but it's not quite as juicy as it would be otherwise. All right, let's zoom in and let's go ahead and pull this apart. Points touch each other. Now reach down and pick that up and put it right on top of it. Now use that to poke one down in it and use the other one as you rake across it to strip it up. There you go. Let it just fall down in that juice. All right, Swabby wanted to try the first of the pull-in, but here's what I do. I will grab a piece right in like this, pick it up, put it right up on top here, and then all you want to do is hold this and slowly pull that apart. And you can see just how tender that is. Like, it is just fall apart tender. It's phenomenal. Do the same here. mean, I hate to say it, I could do this with a spoon. I mean, you see me doing this, but at the end of the day, this is so tender. Yeah, it doesn't require these spikes at all. This is that piece of pulled pork. That's how tender that is. I mean, when I say it's tender, like, I kid you not. It's still hot, and the temperature's coming through those gloves a little bit. And with that, my friends, I bid you farewell, because this is done. You'll find a billion recipes out on the internet for pulled pork. I'll tell you, this is absolutely one of my favorite ways of doing it. I love the ability to just pull this apart, have it pinch off and fall off in your fingers between them. And this is my new, near favorite way to do it, with a little Sweet Baby Ray's or some barbecue sauce and something spicy. A little bit of that jerk sauce. It's amazing. Man, does that look good. Cover that up, carry it in, let the family begin the feasting. Safe and happy grilling, y'all.